Sure. So all these projects we're talking about are investments, right? So no one's going to build these out of the goodness of their heart. They're building them because they're going to use these facilities to generate revenues. Those revenues have to be sufficient to offset the capex, the expense to build the battery itself, and then the opex, the cost to run the battery. So you're always going after some type of market, and batteries are unique in that they can access all kinds of different markets. Some of the more common ones might be arbitrage. So just, let's say buying power in the middle of the day where you're near solar. Power is cheap if you're in that type of market. Charge the battery, then the sun goes down, power prices go up, you discharge the battery. Just simple buy low, sell high mentality, and the batteries can make huge revenues that way. But there are other cases such as what we call frequency regulation. And that's like you would float the battery at 50% state of charge. So you're halfway charged or discharged. And then sometimes if there's, say, too much load on the system, the frequency will start dropping. So in the US, we're on 60 hertz. You might go down to 59.9. And then you would have, the battery, the utility would say, hey, we need some more power. You would inject that power and bring the frequency back up to 60 hertz. Or conversely, if there was overproduction, your frequency might be 60.1. And so you need to actually pull power off of the grid. And so the battery can do either of those things. So these are just a couple examples of different markets you're going after. And depending on the market, that's going to determine where you want to put the facility. So for certain types of markets, let's say like that solar example I gave, obviously you want to be close to solar. Right now, California is a really hot market for that because they have they put so much solar onto the grid, they actually have a bit of overproduction of solar. So very low prices in the daytime, but sun goes down, all that solar comes offline, it becomes a great opportunity for batteries. So that's going to kind of dictate the geography that you'll go after with this type of system. And then within, say, a market like California, then you'd look at, okay, does it make sense to put it rurally? Like obviously from a land perspective, if you can keep away from the cities and cheaper land, that's just going to be better for your financial model. But there are some cases where you're chasing a market. I was working on one in New York City where they really needed to, because of the way the market functioned, they had to be very close to the substation in the city. In other words, you're buying land in one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country or the world, and that becomes a huge chunk of the project price, but that's built into their financial model, and that's going to allow them to chase those higher revenues, higher profits, and justify the higher land price.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's really a market drives where these projects tend to go. We see it in different places. Like I'm in Houston, right? And we had a big battery storage push in town, and everybody was chasing the same step stations, and we were getting calls every other week. And the clients would send us 20 substations, and 10 of them we'd already worked. And so that makes a lot of sense. It's the land grab is what we've all experienced over the last 12 to 18 months to get the real estate next to these substations. But now we're starting to see more of our rural solar development clients that we've put these solar projects together. They're starting to look at maybe taking their projects where we've secured 600 acres and they're wanting to carve out potentially 30, 40, 50 acres, of battery storage development, or our battery storage clients have us chasing offset properties next to solar facilities. So that makes sense. That kind of helps us understand as landmen, why are we in town versus why are we out chasing, maybe these offsetting projects. That makes a lot of sense.